Okay, let's talk about foreign companies funding elections. Let me give you a case we've been investigating. Take Zambia in southern Africa. They've got an election this August. The president, Hakainde Hichilema, is running a really slick campaign. He's spending tens of millions of dollars. Question is, where's that money coming from?
Where is your money coming from, Emily? Rhetorical question. We already know. And the flags on your LinkedIn profile immediately give it away. Welcome to episode Infinity of how the West treats African governments that don't bow to its every demand. And the African government in question for this episode is the government of Zambia. On July 21st, UK, US and Belgium-based NGO Global Witness, yes, really, published a report in which it accused the current Zambian government of being compromised by corporate interests and impoverishing its own people for political gain. The report centers on the Zambian government's work with Canadian mining company First Quantum Minerals, which currently mines most of Zambia's copper and has, according to the good folks at Global Witness, infiltrated Zambia's democracy. But the important question here isn't what this report says about Zambia, it's why. Why are these characters, sitting in their offices in London, Washington and Brussels, suddenly so concerned about what an African country is doing with its own minerals and its own politics? Since when did these Europeans and Americans start to care about protecting Zambia's sovereignty? And most importantly, why now? Perhaps the following facts, which Global Witness would probably rather you didn't know, could help answer these questions. Fact 1. Global Witness is funded by the Open Society Foundations, a US-based NGO network which has been imposing US foreign policy on the Global South under the guise of humanitarianism and supporting democracy since the 1980s, and whose founder, George Soros, has known links to US intelligence stretching at least as far back as the 1970s. Fact 2. Zambia is presently deepening ties with Tanzania. With the backing of China, the two countries are working to modernize the Tazara Railway, a 1,860-kilometer corridor linking the landlocked Zambia to the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, which links Africa via the Indian Ocean to Asia. The $1.4 billion upgrade of the now 51-year-old Tazara Railway will usher in a new era of trade between East and Southern Africa, uplifting the African continent as a whole. Contrast this with the US-funded Lobito Corridor, currently under construction, linking Zambia and the DRC to the Angolan coast, with the sole purpose of cheaply and rapidly transporting resources plundered from Zambia and the DRC to Angola's Lobito Atlantic seaport, from where these resources will then be shipped off to the West, with as little economic benefit to Africa as possible. These two projects serve two very different economic and geopolitical interests. One heads eastward, linking East, Central and Southern Africa to Asia and its trade opportunities. The other heads west, cutting through 1,300 kilometers of rainforest and carefully avoiding any population centers along its route, as it carts critical minerals from African mines to an Atlantic port, in that time-honored extractive manner of colonial infrastructure projects. Only one of these projects aligns with your interests as an African. It should be obvious which one that is. Fact 3. Tanzania recently thwarted a violent Western-backed color revolution on its own soil. A color revolution which began with Western NGOs, Western institutions, and Western media outlets all pushing a very specific narrative about the current Tanzanian government, while supporting the opposition that carried out this attempted color revolution. Elements from that very same opposition just so happen to be currently supporting Zambia's opposition, and this directly connects to our final fact. Fact 4. Global Witness's scathing report comes less than 4 weeks before Zambia's upcoming general elections, slated for August 13. And buried somewhere in this report is the not-so-subtle implication that the Zambian government is trampling on the human rights of its citizens. There's a saying in the Pan-Africanist space that the colonizer has no new tricks. Is Global Witness trying to manufacture international consent for a regime change operation in Zambia on behalf of those who sign its checks? Could Zambia's recent defiance of the US also have something to do with this smear campaign? Or are we to believe that the CIA, with extra steps, suddenly started caring about the well-being of Africans this month? Here's a bonus fact. Also buried in Global Witness's 10,000-word report are the following disclaimers. Global Witness has no evidence to suggest and does not allege that FQM has been involved in corruption. Global Witness does not allege that its, being FQM's, financial support breached Zambian domestic electoral laws or was otherwise illegal. In other words, nowhere in its lengthy word salad does this Western intelligence-backed organization actually make a direct claim of wrongdoing. But it didn't need to. It just needed to throw enough implied mud at Zambia and hope it would stick. Africans would do well to see this latest attempt by the West to meddle in their affairs for exactly what it is. For the Spearhead, I am Barahat.